4 years ago, I was sitting at the final interview stage with Zalando, not knowing how to answer the question who I see myself in 5 years. And they were presenting me an offer and they were giving me a choice. There was a principal track and a managerial track. And I was really sitting there and struggling because I could not understand what being a principal product designer means. How can I lead a team without a title, without directs? My name is Ines. I took this individual contributor track back then, and now I'm working as a principal product designer since 4 years. So I can tell you what exactly that means to be a super IC. And if you're new to the channel, here I'm sharing everything that I've learned about UX, business, and building a career that lasts. So if you're also into those topics, consider subscribing so not to miss my weekly videos. So I was sitting there with two offers, with two career paths. Never ever before in my career I was given a choice on where to develop. Because previously the only path I was given is to becoming a design manager, and that was my role in my previous team. And this path is for me a very well defined. I think I know exactly what it means to be a manager, what it means to lead people, what are the expectations from the role, but I also knew from my actual practical experience that this role might not be a great fit for me, because I found out that when you become a design manager, you stop being a designer. And being a designer, what made me choose this profession in the first place, because I loved solving problems. I loved working with visuals. I loved being on top of the profession. And then suddenly I was dragged away from this one, and I was leading a team and I was going on all of those meetings on one-on-ones. But at the end of the day, because I was not contributing to any projects directly, I was also struggling to negotiate with myself at the end of the day about the achievements that I made, about the progress that I made, about the contribution. So it was really hard to tell for me. So maybe no people quitted, no people burned out, and that is the major achievement that I got as a manager. So I was happy to find out that there is an alternative approach. But I was so confused that I even asked them, what do you mean exactly that I'm gonna lead without a title? But they gave me the answer that I also found unsatisfying. And that prompted me to Google, that prompted me to talk with people before making a choice. And back then, 4 years ago, there were not many information or not many articles that I could find. And honestly, all of them were kind of repeating the same vague ideas, like you lead without a title, you raise the quality bar, and so on and so on. And I really found that unsatisfying. I really didn't know what shall I expect. But because I knew what to expect from a managerial track, and I was not sure back then that it's the role that is very well suited for me, I decided to try it out. I was also told that I can always make a switch, and I indeed tried to make the switch last year just to verify that the managerial track is still not something that I want, but that's a completely different story. Maybe I will tell about my switch in a different video. If you want that, just give me a comment down below. But because I wanted to try something different, and that excited me that I can be a lead, I can have the salary on the same range as a manager, but I will be doing the actual design work again. So I took on this path and I stayed in this path for 4 years, and I think now I know exactly what the principal role entails, what it means to be a super IC, and why and when you should prefer this track over a managerial track. And in this video, I'm going to teach you the system that I also teach to my colleagues who want to become principals and staff designers and super ICs. And this framework or system consists of 5 leadership pillars. And first of all, before we jump into them, you need to realize that those 5 leadership pillars, they are placed on a great foundation. And this foundation consists of your technical skills, of your design skills, visual design skills, UX skills. So you definitely have to have a very solid knowledge and good experience with leading and working and executing on actual product design and UX UI design projects before you will start considering yourself to becoming a senior IC. And provided that you have this foundation, and usually if you have a title of a senior designer and sometimes even a middle career designer, you have this foundation already. But what most people are struggling, and my colleagues are struggling who are striving for growth, is how to actually wrap up the head about what is expected from a principal and how to become one if the foundation is not how we measure if a person is a super IC or not. So the 5 pillars are leading context, leading relationships, leading leaders, leading strategy, and leading visibility. And if you nail those 5 pillars, you can consider yourself to be a super IC and you can get this promotion or this title, and usually this is exactly what companies need you to demonstrate. So now let's discuss all the pillars, and let's start with the first one, a leading context. What do I mean by leading context? It means that you understand deeply your company priorities. You are not lost there. You know where you are all going. You have the empathy towards your users. You have a sense of purpose in what you are doing there collectively. And you also navigate well between different priorities. You know your place in the team. You know what priorities are there for your team specifically. And you also identify new opportunities and you are able to see those opportunities. And believe me, there are always opportunities. Even if you now are thinking, oh, like my company is a really lame one. We are not having a direction. We don't care about our users. We just make money and so on and so on. Then I can tell you that yes, maybe your company is a lost cause, but most likely companies are existing because they bring value. And if you connect with this value, you usually regain this sense of purpose. So I think I work in a very sensible company. I think I work in a very great company. That is genuinely my thinking. But still, I sometimes coach people there and mentor designers who are lost, who don't see this sense of purpose that I see. Yeah, we are a fashion marketplace in Europe and we sell clothes. And what's the bigger purpose there? We even pollute the environment. And that might be the thinking, but at the same time, if you really look at how we do things, we try to be environmentally friendly and people need clothes. Somebody have to sell them clothes. But at the same time, I know that our company is the one who is striving to do this in the most advanced way and most ecological way possible. And we are developing those ecological initiatives. And we also do a lot of projects that prevent overconsumption. We sell second-hand goods and so on and so on. And I really think that we are not just the company that sells clothes, but we are also the company that has a bigger vision, a bigger purpose. And yes, I agree that some companies are not well defined in this one, but it's also kind of your job to define it for yourself, to find this sense of the purpose and maybe even teach this sense of purpose to the others. But of course, if your company, I don't know, do some harmful things and it is a casino and really it is hard to see the purpose there, then probably you should switch the company until you will find a team where you feel rooted for. But this is what it means leading the context. It's the first thing that I usually recommend people who are feeling that they are lost, who are feeling that they reached the ceiling and they don't see how else they should grow and they lost the purpose in whatever they are doing. So the second pillar is leading relationships. And leading relationships is meaning to observing who is around you and building genuine, deep, and professional relationships with them. And this is also the constant work. The same way how you work to gain friends, to keep friendship, you should work on gaining and keeping these relationships. And when you have a great network of relationships at work, things start changing. Because then suddenly you feel that you have support, you have people around you, and those people are amazing. And those people reaching out to you with opportunities. They start suggesting you projects. They start consulting with you. Suddenly you become this important person and nobody can do their work without you. And this is what you achieve by fostering and building relationships, not only with your stakeholders, although this is a very important part. Usually people that I coach, they are very well rooted within the team. With cross-functional teams, they have good relationships with the other designers, with engineers, but not with the managers on the top, which is usually the area that brings you the most impact. But you need to maintain those relationships both up and down and horizontally, and this is where you really start seeing things moving for yourself in terms of your transition to being a super IC. Next, you are leading leaders, and this is my favorite pillar so far, because as a super IC, as an individual contributor, you will have a lead to whom you report to. It might be your head of product, it might be your head of design, or another design manager. And it works best as a partnership. You virtually cannot become a super IC if you are not building this partnership, if they not see you as an equal, if they see you as yet another designer. And that's why you need to be really managing up, and you need to position yourself in a way that you are equals, that you are leading the team into the one direction, and that you are in there together. Because essentially, your manager is who will make you this promotion case, and who will be there for you when you are going to be calibrated with other senior designers who are also striving to be a super IC. So it's very, very important to lead your leaders, and this is where we usually work really hard with my mentees. And sometimes the situations are complex, I can admit that. So really, sometimes there are leaders who just don't want other people to be jumping ahead, or they might dislike you, or they might just have this personality that is really hard to manage. They might be opinionated, they might be rude, they might come from a different culture and you might not understand what do they want and things like that. But these things are manageable once you become aware of this area. There are techniques that you can use to approach every personality. And this is what I've also learned while working with clients, with agencies, and also overall people who are coming from agencies, they know exactly what I'm talking about. You might have a difficult client and you might have a difficult stakeholder, but you still need to do the work, and you need to grow, and you need to get your money and your salary, and you need to get your satisfaction. So you kind of work around. And there are really many instances where these relationships improve by your actual and strategic and tactical work. By the way, if you like this video and you want to receive more videos like that, then give me thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below. It's important for me and for YouTube algorithms to start recommending you similar videos. And we are moving on. Now, the fourth pillar is leading strategy. And usually it is a given that as an individual contributor, you are working on projects. And as you become more and more senior, you're working on more and more senior projects with a lot of ambiguity. They become more and more messy. But that pillar means that you are able to define the direction of the project and the direction of the product overall, even if everybody around you are lost. And you feel this sense of confidence and the sense that you can always navigate the challenges, the complexities. Again, because you have those great relationships, you can always reach out, you can ask for help, you can involve your lead, and you can brainstorm together as partners. So you are kind of not on the passenger seat, but rather on the driver's seat. And many people, they tell me here that I am a designer, it's not really my work. If the business requirements are not defined, if the technical requirements are not defined, it's not my job to do that. It's very hard for me. And indeed, it is hard. And I'm not telling you to take more tasks that you're currently doing, because this is also the most common mistake that I see in senior designers who are coming to me for mentorship, that they want to become a super IC. but they are asking me, how can I do more than I'm currently doing? It's just physically impossible. I do so much stuff. So how on earth should I become a super IC if I'm at my limit? And leading strategy means that you know your role, you know your boundaries. You make a call to whoever it is necessary to inform that things are not going well, that you need to deprioritize some things, or that something has changed and the scope has increased, and you are not really dealing with the challenges that appear on projects with taking on more work. I actually found out that when I learned how to lead strategy, I found out that I contribute early, and that prevents us from the scope creep, and my workload is surprisingly more manageable with more impact that I do. And this is exactly what you need to work on at every project that you have as well. And the pillar number 5 is honestly the pillar I struggle the most personally. But once I found out how to work with that, my life has changed. Like, it's the best time of my life right now at Zalando because I've nailed leading visibility. Why I was struggling with that? Because I was mostly buried under the workload that I was having, and I was leading strategy, I was building the relationship, but then at the end of the day, I was not sharing what I was doing with others. And I was doing mentoring, and people could come to me for advice, but the broader team and the broader community, they never knew what I was working on. And honestly, this is still the pillar I'm working on, I'm improving on, I'm trying to find new ways. And because I have good relationships with my manager, he sometimes reminds me, and thank him for that, to raise my visibility. And because we at some point in time identified that as my focus area, as the area that I can improve. So when you lead visibility, you always make it sure that your work is visible for others, that others know what you are working on, what is your workload, and they are not just coming to you and throwing you the tasks how it was happening with me before, because they had no idea what I'm working on. And in a bigger team, it is easy to not share anything and to provide an impression for others that you're not working on anything important. We are all working on something that is important, of course, that's why we were hired. It's just when you don't share, people don't know, and they assume that you don't have projects right now, that you're lazy or whatever, so they might not see you as a reliable person. And also, you are not sharing your achievements, you're not asking for help at the point in time when it is needed. So leading visibility is absolutely essential. The objection that I often hear from the designers that I coach is that they simply have no time because they already have too many projects and too many priorities. And maybe here, leading strategy, leading relationships, those are the pillars that you should probably focus first to make sure that your workload is manageable. And then the second objection that they often give me is that, it is so lame. I don't want to play politics. However, it is not about politics really. Even if you are working in a startup where you have 5 people, you still need to provide visibility. And yes, it's way easier because you are still working on the same things, but they might not know what is particularly challenging in your area, because you might work with engineers, you might work with PMs, and there might be no other designers. And they might get into the impression that the work is easy peasy, that what you are doing. And they might not appreciate you that much because they don't hear about your challenges and they don't hear about your achievements. So even if you are working with a very simple startup, still leading visibility is what absolutely needed. Otherwise, your work as a super IC might be compromised. You might start getting feedback that you are not visible, people don't know what you are doing, and something is off. And also, if you are working on a promotion and you are not leading visibility already, and you are not showcasing this pillar to your manager, then it's also probably going to be resulting in a very negative feedback, and it might prevent you from growing to a super IC. So this is my take on being a super IC. Hopefully now it is also more or less clear for you how can you advance to this track if this is what you are interested in. And let me know, how do you like this topic? Do you want me to talk more about that? Do you want me to talk about my experience switching to a managerial role last year, for example? And if you're curious how I landed the job at Zalando in the first place, check out this video and I see you there.